We don't want a carbon copy. We don't want copy pasted generic material that sounds the same from everyone.
Those are specific behavioral, or those are specific characters that you have, which can be highlighted in personal statement and not here.
And then I think it's just way too long in telling us about the analogy, you know. I mean, you're trying to put a message forward, but you don't want to, like, again, overword it.
We need human editors for these personal statements. AI is a fascinating thing. Large language models in particular have things they're very good at.
More recent experiences, but if you have nothing else, then yes, you can add experiences from 10 years ago. But in general, try to favor more recent experiences, and in general, try to focus on your work experience and volunteer experience.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Welcome to another webinar from USMLE Sarthi, and today's focus is obviously the upcoming math season 2026. And today we will be talking in detail about your ERAS CV, personal statement, some of the changes that may have happened since the last year, how you should go about these two. We also have, so in terms of speaker, we will have Dr. George Koshy, who you see on the screen, Dr. Siddhanta Rora, who will talk about personal statement, and Mitch Bond from our journalist team also talking about the personal statement. And this will be in a workshop setting. So Dr. Koshy and Dr. Arora and even Mitch will walk you through the documents, the format, and give you some guidance. And then we will, if you are interested, we can correct the phrases of your CV and PS right away in the workshop. And of course, then we can talk about how Sarthi can help you in this entire journey, so on and so forth. So in terms of housekeeping, you can always put your questions in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. This is going to be a fairly fast-paced session. So we'll have ERAS CV discussion Q&A, and then personal statement discussion Q&A. So, we hope to wrap all this up in about 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes. So, and we will take questions on the chat. So with that, and without further ado, let me hand it over to Dr. Koshy. So George, if you want to introduce yourself and take it away.
All right, let's see. Thanks, Pavan. All right, hi everyone. Hopefully you all can see me and my screen. All right, so welcome to our ERAS and personal statement, the 2026 application workshop. For those who know me, or whether you don't, I've been a part of this group, this organization for a while, and we've very happy that we've been able to help a lot of international medical graduates, American medical graduates, and through these application seasons. So as we are coming to the start of another ERAS season, I'm very happy to be able to do this small session with you all. And as Pavan said, I'm happy to answer any questions, maybe towards the end of my talk. And we'll also have a small interactive session as time allows. Okay. All right. So before we jump in, I would like to set expectations. We do this every year. So this is, and every year this the format is different because ERAS is very dynamic. Every year they change things. They change formats. They change bits and portions of the actual application based on feedback. So every year this is a little different. So I just want to take you through, the major changes that have happened. And so it's very important that you understand that this is not a comprehensive ERAS application course. A full ERAS application training course will take approximately like half a day. So my usual classes take at least 4 hours. Without breaks, so that it's a long course. But this is meant to be a sort of a quick review, and I want to highlight the changes for the 2026 season. and key sections that you should be preparing for right now. And obviously, my favorite part is to do some live feedback on selected experience if some of you will choose to share. So if you're here for strategy and clarity and some honest application coaching, I think you're in the right place. For those of you, if you're applying for the first time, or even if you're applying again, it's important to know what the ERAS application system is. So my ERAS works a lot like the post office. So you prepare your package, you prepare your letters, you prepare things that you want to send somewhere, and you deliver it to your post office, which is my ERAS, and it delivers them to all the programs that you applied to. So you never send an application directly to a program. The post office or my ERAS will handle it. So, just a quick show of hands or, in the chat, can you mention how many of you are, first-time applicants, just so I can, direct my talk that way? All right. So out of almost 100 people, there are quite a bit, I think at least 20 to 30% that I've seen in the messages that are coming out, even more possibly, that are first-time applicants. So that's wonderful. So it's actually a pleasure to talk to you about what the My ERAS system is. So like I said, this is a centralized platform that works very much like a post office. So you will send your actual ERAS application, which includes your CV, your letters of recommendation, your personal statement, photograph, medical school documentation, transcripts, and all those things will be submitted into my ERAS, and which will in turn transmit all these information to the programs that you applied to. Okay, so that's the simplest way of explaining what the ERAS platform is. So in terms of the timeline, this is the 2026 season timeline. And if most of you are IMGs, June 25th was the date when ECFMG sends the tokens, or the tokens for ERAS is available for IMGs. That's already done. And June 4th was when the ERAS actual ERAS season begins, which means that ERAS is available to be opened and for you to start putting information in. Okay, and September 3 is when you can begin submitting your ERAS applications to programs. But September 24th is when the programs are actually able to start reviewing your applications and all your stuff. Okay, and May 31st, 2026, which is not very important for you, but that's when the season officially ends in terms of the ERAS application. Okay, remember September 3 is not your starting date. Okay, so make sure that is not the date that you start making your application. You need to start making your application now. You need to start doing it, working on it now, so that by September 3 or before September 24th, you're able to submit it and be relatively stress-free. Okay, and June 25th, I already spoke that ECFMG will distribute tokens. So let's talk about some more minor changes apart from since last year. And in the 2025 to 2026 season, ERAS made a few more changes to the application, and I think these are relevant to at least some of you. And these are always made every season based on research and community feedback. So the changes have been made in the following sections. The most important thing, and I think a lot of IMGs are, it's relevant to a lot of IMGs, is home country residency. Every year we get a lot of questions about where can I add my home country residency? Which section can I add this? All right. So this year they made another change where you can add your home country residency or a non-ACGME accredited postgraduate training in the other section of the training program. So let me show you the next page here. So this is just an ERAS application worksheet. So there is a section in postgraduate training where you can click other accredited residency, and in the other accrediting body, you can mention the name of your university or the name of your board in your home country that under which you did your fellowship or your residency. All right, you can mention specialty, institution, country, etc., etc. So now this will stand out as actual postgraduate training, and I think that's a pretty big change. The other changes are, interruptions and extensions. This does not matter a lot to a lot of people, but if it does matter to you, it is in two separate sections. It's in the academic section, or if it's in professional section. Okay, really, that's pretty much it. I know a lot of IMGs applied to anesthesiology and plastic surgery. Some of you applied to neurosurgery too. But in general, those three specialties now have additional questions, like specialty specific questions that are in your ERAS application before you send it to those programs. So these are only visible to those programs in that specialty. So for example, if you apply to neurosurgery and internal medicine, your neurosurgery answers will not be seen by internal medicine programs. Okay. So that's another important thing to know. These are the questions for anesthesiology. These are the questions for plastic surgery. Other small pilot changes that they're introducing this year is additional program signal statements for anesthesiology and plastic surgery integrated applicants. And for specialties that don't have a lot of residency programs like ENT, orthopedic surgery, they have the option to opt out of geographic preference. It doesn't really apply to a lot of IMGs, but these are the other changes. Another welcome change that I see from the 2025 season that has continued, that has been retained, is the level of proficiency of language. Now it's a basic yes or no question, which is great. So if you know English, if you know communicative English enough to work well in a hospital, all you have to do is click yes. There's no additional thinking or worrying, okay, did I click the right option? Now it's just a yes or no question, and we click yes. Hobbies and interests. This is also a great section that has continued to be retained. Previously, this was in an experiences section, and this would get diluted or missed out. Now it's a separate section, and this is a great section for you to highlight your hobbies and interests. And these are, and for those who are applying for the first time, or those who are applying again, especially those who have interviewed before, will know that this is an important section that a lot of times are at the crux of conversations during your interviews. So you want to make sure these sections are unique and written well. Another small change, every year the number of signals that you're able to do program signaling change. And this year, I think diagnostic radiology and interventional radiology numbers have changed. It's now, previously it was diagnostic and interventional had a similar number. Now diagnostic has 6 plus 9 and interventional radiology has 8. But yes, so signals in general, every year the number changes. This year the diagnostic and interventional numbers have changed, as you can see on the screen. Emergency medicine numbers, I think this year emergency medicine signals are not being provided by ERAS, because I think they're also transitioning to the other platform, which is the CAS platform. So there's no, you may not be able to apply to a lot of emergency medicine programs through ERAS. You might have to do it through the other platform. Otherwise, these are, in short, the signals that you can provide to internal medicine, family medicine, and other specialties. These are given in detail in your ERAS application. So for example, if you're deciding to apply to orthopedic surgery, you can see how many signals are available. Okay. All right. Certain specialties have made a switch to the residency CAS service. I'm not going to talk much about this, but those who are or who have applied to OBGYN before know this application service. It's just different. Emergency medicine is also transitioning to the residency CAS system, as you can see on this page, where many programs are requesting that applicants can only apply through the residency CAS system. It's very similar. I don't want to go through this in detail, but if you do get a mentor through us or something, you'll be able to discuss all these things with your mentors and get detailed advice on how to fill. Very good. So now I want to go back to our ERAS application, and this is probably the most important section of your ERAS application. Whether you're a first-time applicant or repeat applicant, this is probably the most important. So ERAS allows 10 experiences. Okay. Previously, that never used to be the number. Since for the past couple of years, ERAS has limited you to write 10 experiences. And by experiences, I mean you could talk about a work experience, research, volunteer, education, training, military service, other extracurricular activities, excuse me, teaching, mentoring, professional organization. All right. So the arrows I've put are for the most important categories of experiences, in my opinion. Okay. Yes, everything else is important, but work, research, and volunteering are the ones I need for all of you to highlight in your application. And these are the things that are also looked for by the people who are reviewing your application. Okay. Now, among 10 experiences, you will be able to highlight 3 most meaningful experiences. And remember, these are not just bullet points, they are your way to stand out. So you're able to choose 3 out of the 10 experiences as meaningful experiences. In addition to that, there is an impactful experience section, and this is optional. Programs don't expect everybody to fill it out, but this is, and many applicants may leave it blank, but this is a good section to add, especially if you've overcome major challenges that have shaped you or shaped who you are, and only if you're comfortable sharing. So, for example, you overcame a difficult family background, like maybe you're the first generation to graduate college, or you came from a low-income family, or you worked to support multiple family members. You had to go to school at night, work in the morning, things like that. Or you worked through, limited community settings, high crime areas, other life circumstances. Life happens, and those, if you have certain impactful experiences that made you or shaped you who you are and helped you become or get to where you are right now, that would be a good spot to write it. So it'd be in this impactful experience, and this is in addition to the 10 experiences, a space for 10 experiences that you have. Okay. All right. So this is an example of an experience an applicant has written regarding a clinical rotation that they had done. All right. So I'm going to add, make this a little more interactive. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions. What is missing here? Can you really picture what the applicant actually did? And do you think a program director would remember this entry 30 minutes later? So the description says, I did a clinical rotation in neurology at ABC Hospital. I saw a lot of patients. I examined them and I advised them. I also attended lectures and discussed cases with the team. I learned a lot during this rotation. All right. So in your, according to the people who are here, what do you think? What do you think is missing here? And if you were to read this without talking to the applicant, would you really know what the applicant actually did? All right. Okay, so I'm hearing that some of you are saying this is generic. Some of you are saying this is better to write specifically bullets. Elaborate experience. Okay, elaborate is a very generic term, right? So what do you mean by elaborate? Somebody says sounds passive. Right. Now, what about this one, the next one, right? The next one says, I did a 2-month clinical rotation in neurology at ABC hospitals. I saw patients in the clinic and in the ward. I took histories, examined them, and advised them as needed. I also attended lectures and participated in case discussions with the team. During this time, I learned more about neurological disease and how to manage them. Overall, it was a good experience. Now, what do you think about this experience? Somebody says, could be more specific about interesting cases. Okay. More informative, but lacks specifics. Okay. Almost the same. Okay. How it has transformed their learning. So it's important that that all of you realize that these are actual. These are actual wording that we have seen in applications and in ERAS things. It's not that I'm not just making it up, but these are actual wording that we see in many applications, and that that just shows how how we don't use these sections to to its full purpose or to the full extent that we can, right? So what is lacking now, as many of you said, there is a specific, many the memorable stories or moments, like somebody said, is missing. Specific setting or context is missing. Quantifiable outcomes are missing. Strong action verbs are also missing. All right. So I'll go to another example and discuss about it. And as some of you very correctly mentioned, there is a character limit in many of these experiences. So you cannot write long experiences about the interesting case or things like that. So you have to be very specific about the things you want to write, very intentional about the words you use in these things. So I think you have a total of 750 characters. And I want you to take a look at the next one, this one. And remember, you don't have to use bullet points for everything. You can use bullet points. Some people like bullet points, some people don't, but there is no specific advice on whether you should use bullet points or not. Okay, so that is not a pro or a con. But if you read this one, what do you think about this one? So this one here, it says, I completed 2-month rotation at a tertiary hospital, worked closely with faculty, residents, fellows, multidisciplinary teams. I managed 8 to 10 patients daily, performed neuro exams, interpreted imaging, etc., etc., etc. All right. So now let's talk about the important parts, right? If you look at it, the specific setting and specific context have been described. So they talked about the context of where they worked. So, they talked about they were working in tertiary medical center. They worked closely with faculty, residents, fellows, multidisciplinary teams. It's very important that you mention something of that sort, just so that people know that you worked, you know how to work with a team. Okay, and then being as specific as you can, whether you took care of, inpatient. Don't say I saw a lot of it. I saw a lot of patients. No, you saw 8 to 10 inpatients, or 10 to 15 inpatients per day, or you saw 10 to 15 outpatients per week in the epilepsy clinic, or autoimmune clinic, or headache clinic, or whatever. Right. So trying to be as specific as you can, because these are showing specific contexts and specific settings of that experience, and those are the specific things that make people remember you, right? And next, let's talk about action verbs. There's not a lot of action verbs in this one, but you could add so many more action verbs in other experiences. You could talk about leading something. You can talk about organizing something. You could talk about performing something. You could talk about actively teaching something, right? These are all strong action verbs. The other action verbs they've used here are managed, performed, assisted, coordinated, evaluated. All of them are active and relatively strong. Quantifiable outcomes. Quantifiable outcomes, I mean by things that you did during your rotation that resulted in an outcome, right? And you want to quantify that outcome such that you say, I presented 2 case discussions, and one of them actually led to a stroke imaging quality improvement project. And once you write this, obviously the program director who is evaluating your application has seen this. The next automatic question is, to talk about this project or how this thing came into being, right? So these are good fodder for your application, for your actual interviews. The other outcome that you have here is, when you saw that patient with myasthenia gravis, in addition to taking care of them, you also submitted this as a case report to a specific journal. All right. So that's another quantifiable outcome that you have. Right. And as most of you said, memorable stories or moments. Yes. So you have a rare patient with myasthenia gravis presenting with paraneoplastic syndrome. Right. So this is a specific moment or a specific story that you have story that you have, and this is good enough for just highlighting that experience, so that when the program director or whoever is interviewing you, they're able to see that and ask you more about it. And that is when you can talk more about that patient, that interesting case or that interesting patient during your interviews. All right. So this is just an example for me to show you why all of these sections or these specific contexts, action verbs, outcomes, unique, memorable moments or stories, or all those things are important for these experiences. And this whole section is less than 750 characters. Is actually 740 something, including bullet points, including punctuations, including spaces. So you can use your words, use the character limit to your advantage. Yes, as much as you can, try to use the maximum characters. If it's not a bad thing. But as much as you can, try to use a space that you have to make your experience as unique as possible. All right. So to summarize, you want to make your experiences as specific as possible. So avoid vague statements and make sure you have details that make your experience believable. Okay. Quantify. Numbers always give credibility. The patient's work, patients you treated, the numbers you worked, the number of hours you worked, or the results you achieved, right? And try to stand out. And by standing out, I mean, say if 50 other people had the same experience, like 50 other people was in the same observership or the same clinical rotation with you, how does your experience stand out, or how is your experience different, right? And that's where you should add those specific memorable moments, like a case or something like that, right? So try to be memorable, add a mini story or a moment that stayed with you. Think about your experiences as various puzzle pieces. You need to tell a cohesive story about who you are and why you chose this path, right? The other important thing is you need your ERAS CV and letters of recommendation too. But your ERAS CV should complement your personal statement, right? If your personal statement explains the why, why you went to internal medicine or why you went to a neurology or whatever specialty, your experiences in the ERAS application should show you how you did that, right? So the entire application should be complementary to each other. So you should not just try to copy the same experience that is in your personal statement and put it in your ERAS application, or vice versa. Instead, you need to talk about how you got to do the things you did, or how you were able to achieve the things you did in your ERAS CV, and talk about the motivation behind that on your personal statement. Okay. So, whenever you write an experience, think about it. Think about your, a good check question. If a program director read this just one entry, would they want to meet me? Right? If the answer is no, then try to refine it until the answer is yes. So, now you know what goes where and how to write it, especially the most critical areas. I will try to answer some of the questions in chat.
Okay. So we will answer questions in chat, but I do want to, start the interactive session as well. So the idea behind this section would be, if you want some guidance on your own content. So, for example, I see a question on this. Any suggestions on describing a telerotation? So what have you written? What have you written about the telerotation? Or in other words, I think some person is saying, what quantifiable outcomes can be written in observership rotation? So the idea here is that Dr. Koshy will help you improve if you type it, right? Put it down, and then we will be able to help you. So that's where it is. Okay. So anyone who is interested, I can give you access on camera if you wish, but type your content that you need feedback on. Okay. So type your content, because otherwise it becomes a very theoretical exercise. How do you describe a telerotation? How do you describe research writing experience. So we all, we discuss this one-on-one in our classes. So our panelists will set up time with you and open your CV and do that. So personal statement details will come in. So that is the next section. But I want to kind of, stay on the ERAS CV for now. Anyone who wants to put in their actual content at this point. Now that's the feedback that you can get. Anyone, so when you're saying writing research experience, right? So I think, okay, so whosoever wants, I think someone is saying, I want to put in my experience. So please put in to everyone so that we can view. So someone, who wants to put in, you can put in, we will wait, and then we'll go.
So, Shanmuga Priya, I'm reading your experience, right? So, are you going to put this in an actual experience in your CV? Pawan, can they speak or?
Yeah, they can speak. So, let me see. Sejal, can you give them access as a speaker?
All right. In the meantime, I can, I'm reading the message. It's a very good experience, but this cannot, this is more of something that you would put in your personal statement rather than putting in your actual CV. All right. So in your CV, and remind me, are you applying for the first time or?
Okay.
All right here. So I'm going to show you the examples of experiences, right? So if you look at an experience section, and I think somebody was asking what the limit of characters, it's character limit inside the responsibilities area, right? Anyways, so in your experiences section, so say this was a work experience, which is during your internship or whenever, right? Here, this would not be the best section to write, the stuff that you just wrote in the chat. But the stuff that you wrote would be a great place it would be better in your personal statement, right?
Okay.
Yeah, she's now, she can speak now, I think.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, it's a pleasure meeting you.
So were you able to understand that? So in your final year of residency, you can, instead of talking about final year of residency, you can talk about your residency experience as by an experience itself. So that would be a work experience, and you could talk about specific things that you did, your roles, and then you could even add one point about the specific patient, but you can be really concise, such that you just touch upon it, and they are able to ask you more about it during your interview. But writing this whole experience as an experience would remove a lot of weight from that experience, right?
Oh,
This would be better. Here you're trying to highlight your qualities. You're trying to highlight that interesting patient. Your empathy, your ability to take on additional responsibilities, especially with patient challenges and all that. Those are specific behavioral, or those are specific characters that you have, which can be highlighted in personal statement and not here in your CV.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. All right, very good. And you could also put this in during the personal statement evaluation section later. Okay.
Okay, sure.
All right. Next person, so Lakshana, what chronological order do we write experiences? So Lakshana, fortunately or unfortunately, ERAS will rearrange your experiences based on a format that it has. Sometimes it does by alphabetical order. Sometimes it does based on timeline. So that is, you don't really have any control over it. So you just have to put your experiences in based on whatever time that you have done it, and it will arrange it or rearrange it. Okay.
I think Nusrat Jahan, I don't know, can you see? Yeah, Nusrat, I think is second from the last comment. So she has put in a research experience. So Nusrat, if you want to talk, that's fine. Otherwise, George, you can give her feedback on this.
Let me see. I have Nusrat.
Cardiology research operations. You see it?
Yes, because a lot of messages are coming.
Yeah, a lot of messages have come.
Popping down. All right, Nusrat, yes, I have your this thing. So this is about cardiology research. All right, very good. So you have two of the important points. So you're talking about cardiology research operations, heart failure, lipid management, all that stuff. So you have some some active verbs in it. So you're leading, you achieved, you streamlined. So you have some active verbs in it, but it would be more beneficial to start with an actual overview of what this is. So you are you're leading a research operation in this academic center, or whatever, like with in the Department of Cardiology, focusing on heart failure, lipid management, CAD, etc., etc. And then your role, talk about your roles. Your roles are streamlining trials, etc., etc. Now talk about outcomes, right? So how many trials did you take care of, or how many patients did you enroll, or how many specific things that you did, how many have you done? And then talk about the outcomes, right? Specific outcomes, like how many publications did you get, or how many data points did you get, or how many things did you do, or what are the things that you did that led to getting specific publications or specific trial approvals, or whatever. And a lot of times when you are a program coordinator or like a research coordinator, it's unfortunate, but when you're a research coordinator, a lot of times you don't get put into publications. So it's unfortunate. But if you are in that position, then you may not have publications, and it may be challenging. But if you're not a research coordinator, or if you have access to publications, then writing your outcomes as publications or presentations, or even group or team presentations are good ways of writing your outcomes.
I want to speak a little bit about this experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working for this division for 8 years, and my role is a clinical role. So I did all of the interventional clinical cardiology research, and that leads to a lot of bringing rush at top enrolling side, a lot of publication through my teaching experience, which is from the other department, other company. But this is I'm having difficulty explaining this with a limited word character, because 8 years is huge. I've been working for more than 100 trials, and all of these trials were actually managed by me. Not only seeing patient, but also collaborating with the multidisciplinary team. So
that's great.
Focus clinical.
Okay, that's good. Sorry I interrupted, but you have a lot of good things to mention, right? So you use your bullet points. I think bullet points would be good for you, but use your bullet points to talk about specific things. So for your first bullet point, or one of your bullet points, can be talking about all the trials that you did. You don't have to talk about all the trials, just quantify it, right? You're doing 100 plus trials in these categories, like lipid management, heart failure, etc., whatever. And then the second thing was talk about the outcomes, talk about how many publications you were directly responsible for, or presentations that you were responsible for in the national and international stage, whatever. And then the third thing can be about the other clinical things that you did, right? The specific clinical things that you did, like you examined patients, you made sure they were eligible for trial. And then in the same point, you can also mention how you collaborated with faculty, other researchers, residents, fellows, or other multidisciplinary teams, right? So now you have 3 points and maybe an introduction, 3 points, and that's enough. These 3 points are talking about 3 different things. You're talking about your ability to work with other people, your ability to have outcomes, like reproducible success that you can take to your residency, and your ability to work together with other people, and what was the other thing? Your clinical experience and all that. So you don't have to explain everything, but having 3 specific points showing 3 different things with quantifiable outcomes, I think that's the best way to show it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We want them to ask you in your interview so that you can explain more.
Okay. Before we move on, maybe, I should show my screen, because I know a lot of you have been asking this. So what is our review process, right? So this is important, as Dr. Koshy has said. And Sejal, maybe you can post a link to this page. Hopefully, you guys can all see it. So this is how the process works on all our plans. So gold, platinum, turbo, etc. of the review, the ERAS CV and PS review. So there are group classes, so very interactive classes on both the ERAS CV and PS. And then there is a review process. So like Dr. Koshy is saying, a panelist will sit down with you one-on-one and review on Zoom your CV and personal statement with you. And that's not all. I mean, the documents are also reviewed by our journalist team. So you do get both the reviews, the physician review and the journalist review. So you can go over this page. There is a very rigorous process. So each personal statement is reviewed thrice, first by journalist, then by physician working with you, and then again by journalist. And likewise, CV is also reviewed by both the physician panelist and the journalist. So, we are reviewing just one sentence here or one phrase, but we review in a meeting with you everything. So that's one thing I wanted to share. So Sejal can share a link to this page. This applies to all plans, like I said. The other, I'm getting a lot of texts on rotation. So if you go to this direct link, which is on our page, so Sejal, maybe you can also paste the link to this page. At the last minute, many of you still need rotations, whether it is tele rotations or on-site rotation. Many of them are still available. Many of them have discounted options. So you can actually go to this page, sort it, click on it and read the description. Many tele rotations are very affordable at this point for those of you who don't have visa or you cannot travel. But we just need to make sure we know how many of you are interested in which kind of tele rotation. And there is a form as well that Sejal can share with you. But I just wanted to interrupt and let you all know that there are still rotations available, especially tele rotations. So if you just approximately count, there is a 1 month, between August 15 through August, September. There's 1 month and, you can still get a LOR just in case. Okay, so sorry, let's get back to the ERAS CV. So I just wanted to let you know the process. Okay, anything else that we may have missed? So George, did we miss anything?
Yeah, I'm going through the chats. Jose Chavez, I would favor more recent experiences, but if you have nothing else, then yes, you can add experiences from 10 years ago. But in general, try to favor more recent experiences, and in general, try to focus on your work experience and volunteer experiences. But don't try to focus on just one thing. Try to make your application as well-rounded as possible. But again, this is a very personalized question. Like, it depends on what experiences that you have right now. Okay.
And the other thing is, please put comments for everyone. If you put it to only panelists, we'll not be able to answer everyone. So just put it to everyone and, we'll answer the questions.
Yeah, Noreen, and I think this is a question that a lot of people have is, how do I put my experiences while I'm observing in an observership, right? And these are always challenging, and there's a way to do it, and I'm sure our team can help you. But in general, you may not be able to do the physical things that you do during an externship or an elective. And so you can definitely talk about shadowing the types of patients that you saw, specific presentations that you did, specific other things that you did in terms of making that rotation unique. So instead of saying I shadowed this person while he examined, no, just say I observed 10 to 15 patients per day where patients with certain kinds of things. So focus on the patients, focus on the kind of experience you got, rather than saying that you watched someone else do it.
Okay, George, I think there's a good question. Does externship fall under work or education?
Good question. In general, and anything that you do in terms of clinical experiences, I would put that as a work experience. Okay, and I know a lot of people, or some people, outside our group will say other things, but in general, you want work experience to highlight, and work experience, anything you do clinical, whether it's observership, externship, electives, telerotations, all these are work experiences, whether you got paid for it or not. That's different. But the fact is that you are doing, clinical rotations. All these are considered work experiences, and then volunteer experiences are, anything that is volunteer, whether it's medical or not medical.
The other question which I see and very often, if I attended a conference or maybe a presentation, can it be any experience? If not, under what category?
Yeah. So good question. So if you attended a conference and you have presentation, put the presentation in the publication section, right? Why do you want to waste that section in the experience? You only have 10 experiences. Why do you want to waste one valuable experience in saying, I went to this conference, right? That's pretty wasteful unless you have nothing else to write. But if you have a whole research experience, okay, of which this presentation was a part, then you can talk about the whole research experience and say, outcomes. I have like 5 publications and 2 presentations when I went to this place and I presented it. That you can definitely do.
Okay, one more question. I think the question was, if any experience, let's say, starts in October, whether it is research or rotation, can I put a future experience in ERAS?
I don't think it will let you do it. So you can't put a future experience beyond the date that you are certifying. I think that's how it is. So I don't think you can do it. Yeah. You will just have to inform programs manually that, you would attend this rotation and stuff like that.
Okay. And, now you guys are asking a lot of detailed questions for which we really need to get into your CV and PS. So Kainath, for example, including what relevant experience, what to exclude. So this is where our classes help you. So, if you have questions or, look at our plans, all of you. And if you want, you can enroll for one of those plans so that we can work one-on-one with you, right? So maybe we'll take one more questions.
I think this Bhavya Patel's question, it came a little earlier. So this is a 3-day experience. So this was a procedural workshop. Okay, you can certainly put that in education or one of those experiences. The only downside. So let me tell you one important concept. Whatever you're writing in work experience, we automatically assume you have a letter of recommendation for that, right? So if you're not getting a letter of recommendation from any of your experiences, then it's not worth writing in that section. But since you have participated in this, hands-on workshop, you can talk about it in the educational section. It doesn't really come as a work experience. You can talk about it as an educational section, and it's actually a great experience to put in there. But I would not put it in the work experience. You could talk about it, be specific. Like this was in the annual meeting of the American Family Medicine Practitioners or whatever, and then talk about the stuff you did. Okay. But in general, if faculty of people evaluate your application and see that you did a work experience for 3 days, that's,
same, I think Sulakshana has a question. I have a small community visit, a lot of small visits where we organize healthcare camps. I've been to 5 or 6 visits. Shall I add them separately or under one heading?
Good question. And actually, this happens a lot to many international graduates where they do these small camps. So what you can do is, I think in the ERAS volunteer section, and this is going to be volunteer, in the volunteer section, I think there is I forget. Oh, previously there used to be a recurring area, but what you can do is put the broader time frame. Like if it happened over a period of a year, you can put the whole year and then describe it. Say that you did these things 2 days at a time, 5 times the whole year. So it's truthful, but also you have to add it in your experience. So add it as one experience, unless you don't have a lot of things, but try to add it as one so that you're being pretty honest and truthful about it.
Well, I think that's it for this section. So thank you very much, George. Appreciate your time. And Guys, wait on a couple of minutes. You can take a break, get your tea, coffee, whatever, before we start the PS section, and I'll take care of some of the other questions that are coming in. But thank you very much, George. Appreciate your time. And again, for those of you who are interested, take a look at the plans and the review that Sejal has posted links to.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, so let me move on, and as we are waiting for our next speaker, I'll take a look at some of the questions, and I think maybe one question, and Dr. Arora is already here. Can ongoing research or telerotations be added as experiences? Yes, of course. If it's ongoing, you can always add it. That's not a problem. I have 3 good LORs from a well-known university, but all are from the same subspecialty, empath. Should I keep those 3 or consider keeping LOR from different universities instead? So it also depends on the duration of your experience. So if you have 3 LORs, but you've worked in research with that universities for maybe more than 6-7 months, 1 year, maybe that is okay. If it's a 1-month experience and 3 LORs, obviously it doesn't work, right? Can we add any LORs later than September 23rd? You can absolutely add it. The question is, will the programs download it? So generally the programs download the entire package or your application in one go, and that includes LOR. So while you can add it, if the program, that particular program has not downloaded your material, so maybe that's the 4th LOR, they can download it. Otherwise, I don't think they will go back to download your application or that LOR. If I'm working on an online digital platform to create awareness about lifestyle related disorders, should I write it in the PS or experiences section? It just depends. If it flows as a story, your personal story, or how this has shaped you as a physician, what you have learned, what you have taught, maybe it's part of the personal statement. Also depends on the specialty. If not, then it can be part of your CV. All right, so let's move on. I do have Dr. Siddhanta Rora here with me. So like I said, as we did with the ERAS CV section, he'll talk about personal statement, what it is. I can talk about how Sarthi helps. So he'll briefly go over all of that. Then we will take phrases from you, your personal statement, and we'll try to see if this is relevant, if he can correct it, so on and so forth. So over to you, Dr. Arora. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can move on.
Right. Well, good morning, good evening to all of you, wherever you guys are joining from. I'm Dr. Rora. I'm one of the stroke fellows at BNI, Barrow Neurological Institute. I have been working with Sarthi for a while now. I think today we'll be talking about a little bit about your personal statement, the importance of it, how to construct a personal statement by yourself. And also I'll be taking some questions after. And like sir was saying, that we'll be, taking some excerpts and trying give you a vague idea as to, how things are to be done. I'll get started here. Give me a moment. Right, great. Put this on the side. Okay, great. All right. So again, we'll be talking a little bit about how to construct an effective personal statement. It'll be a short presentation, of course, and I'll be taking some questions after. So what is a personal statement? It's basically an art of storytelling. So when you're applying for a residency or fellowship, what you've done objectively on your the time that you've utilized to actually apply for that position, we can look at the CV to look at those objective findings, rotations, research, your scores, all of that stuff, that's super important. Also, something important is actually getting to know the person. This is really important because you want to work with the smarter people and the experienced people, but you also want to work with people who are, likable personalities, who have their own story telling you, where they come from, what they do, and why they do. Because as much as you want, this to be like an effectively oiled machine system, the smartest doctors make the smartest decisions, the patients feel the best after that. That's not always true. Just like any job you do in your life, or any kind of work experience you do in your life, it depends on the person you deal with. You may go to the hospital, you may deal with two different doctors the same day. One of them may be smarter than the other, possibly, but they don't have great bedside manner, or they don't have, the way of telling the patient how or what's going on. And the other person may sit down and explain very well. And of course, you take those experiences with you and come back later to the hospital one day, asking for the other doctor. So it is this art of storytelling that you put on paper that gives us an idea the kind of person you are. Are you a likable personality? Where do you come from? What have you been doing so far? So I think it's a very important thing, because every person is different. We are all different individuals, and this is our one or our first way of kind of telling the people, who are looking at our application, who we are. So it's basically the art of storytelling, the journey that you've taken until you've come here. So, simple personal statement. I'm going to divide it into, small paragraphs, so that you actually understand what we are trying to construct, rather than, telling you, oh, tell me your journey, everything that you've done so far, and, you're applying here. Rather than that, we should break it down so we know exactly what we're looking for in a personal statement. First, I would say that, the first paragraph is like, just visualize. We all come from a different background, different things that have led us to come here. Some of us may have had this dream ever since that, we were like 8, 10 years old. Some of us may have grown in a family where, they were family people were doctors, and, or they had already moved to the US from wherever you guys are. So I think we all have our own journey. For me, my journey was that I had made my own decision during my medical school why I want to come to the US, and I had put, reasons for that. So I kind of visualized myself that, okay, why am I doing this journey? Again, everyone comes from a different angle. So try not to copy others, because this is your way of telling, why you're here. And a lot of times, if you put something in a personal statement and it's like you're fake, or something you copied, or something just looked good. Now, the problem with that is that you're going to write it, it's going to look great on paper. But once they start talking about it, it's not one or two questions. You're talking to people who are going to be interviewing you, who've done this for years and years, who've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Program directors have so much experience. They can look through you in a second, experience. You can't buy that. So whatever you put on paper is something that your journey is. And then when we are talking about it in an interview, it should come out very naturally. It should not look like, oh, this guy says this, and then when I talk to him about it, okay, it has no idea. Why is he here and why did he write that? So that's not something that's acceptable, I would say. So I'm not a biggest believer that you always need to stand out. I understand that, everywhere you apply, if they receive 5,000 applications, meaning 5,000 personal statements, they only have like 30, 40, 50 spots or whatsoever. I get it. You want to be a little bit different, but also like sometimes trying to do too much may hurt you. So, basically visualize why you're here. It's like, it could be a gripping story, something that, kind of makes you a little bit different. But again, don't work towards it too hard. Sometimes things can be simpler, that you grew up in this family, you looked up to such certain people, they had moved to the US, you kind of wanted to think, okay, your story starts like that. I feel that's okay. Always think of your mentors. Actually, I would say, could be a family member, could be someone you worked with before, could be some character you look up to, anything that kind of pushed you towards it. And this is where we come into play. Sarthi comes into play, that some things may look really good on paper. If you're like, no, this is way too much or too less, you need to do better. So, just your job is to like put your story forward. And, if those things have actually shaped you, and then why, maybe you've learned something over the years that made you want to come here, any of that stuff. I would suggest that always, overwording is the easiest thing that you can do. And those can be corrected. So at least in your first draft, even if you've put in a lot of words, your ideal CV is like, personal statement is like 750, 1,000 words. In other words, how I put in is like one page, and then other page maximum one paragraph, because even if it looks great, it's a great personal statement. It's not grippy after a while. That's why when you watch a movie is 2 hours and not 4 hours or 5 hours. It's very hard to keep yourself, engaged for that long. So for that purpose, we can cut it down, narrow it down later on. But your job is to put yourself on a piece of paper and tell us why you think you want to do this. Next is why you choose this specialty. Again, this is the way we should structure it so we don't go on and on and on. I mean, whatever you're going to apply in, internal medicine, family medicine, neurology, psychiatry, surgery, anything like that, but have some kind of reasoning behind it. Not just that, oh, I stumbled across this and I applied here. I mean, we all know that there are certain specialties that are easier for, IMGs to get in comparison to others. I mean, that should not be something that, you should write about that. Oh, it was easy to get in, so I applied it. No, we want some passion there. We want some reasoning behind it. Because when people have a reason that drives them, it also, the usual passion or the drive stays with them. So they know they're going to complete their specialty. Otherwise, there was an empty spot. I thought I want to do medicine and I took over this orthopedic seat. It doesn't work like that because then you lose interest. And just like you want a residency, even programs really want to fill the spots. So they don't want to take someone who's not sure about what they're doing. So give us a reason why you want to do this specialty. Third is, professional skills and training. Now you've chosen or you know what you want to do. What have you done about it? And here you don't have to go in detail about what you've done in the CV. That's what your CV will talk about. But have you done rotations in that field? You don't have to name all of them. Have you done, any kind of research in that field? Have you done any kind of volunteering similar to that field? What have you been up to basically since you've made that decision and you're sitting here? We made that decision in 2023. We're in 2025 applying for the math cycle. What have you done in a year and a half? Anything that you feel is pertinent to the factor that has, okay, I want to do this. I wanted to do this, and now I've done this to actually show you that I want to do this for my life or career. So that's important. How you say actions talk louder than words. So here it is words, but you're putting those into action that, okay, want to do this, and now this is why I'm exactly doing this. I think a little bit talk about why the US healthcare, because most of us have come from different parts of the world. We could have practiced medicine in our country because, almost everyone has done medical school in our home country. That's why we are IMGs, international medical graduates. So what made you interested in this field in the US? Family reason, professional reason, personal reason, anything that you can come up with. Again, doesn't have to stand out, but something that kind of, connects you that this is how I grew up, this is what I wanted to do, this is the specialty I want to do, this is what I've done to, make my application stronger. And then the next step was coming to the US for blah, 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 whatever reason you thought. And then, always end in a positive manner, in a forward-looking manner. I don't know if you guys, watch movies and all. Even movies that kind of do really well are the ones which end in not in a cliffhanger, but they end in a way that, okay, that life is moving forward. That, great. It is okay, great stories and, in whatever way. But they kind of show that, okay, life's not stopping. It ends there, but the new circle of life starts because it's dynamic. So end it, or at least go towards ending in a way that okay, this is where you see yourself in the future, positive and I say forward approach. Maybe you want to talk about a small fellowship you may want to do. Absolutely not mandatory, and if you write things like that, you should have something to back up also, or the kind of person or the kind of physician you want to become. I would also say that, if you're applying to one of these places where you really want to go for a specific reason, personal, professional, add a small excerpt, you apply to 100, 200 programs, hard to make personal statements for each of them. But it's a good idea to kind of write a little bit about that at the end, that, oh, I wanted to come to this state for so and so reason. I've worked here, blah, 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 know people here, all of those reasons. So, it's easier said than done. How do you get it done in the right manner? You have to pace yourself. It's not that, it's not eureka that you think about an idea and it just plugs in, you type everything down and just looks perfect on paper. It's frustrating. It's annoying. It gets sometimes a little bit too much. And how do you do it in a good manner? You think about paragraph at a time. Some days it'll flow, some days it won't flow. And how do you make that decision? You sit down or you think about on a regular basis, and then you put your points forward, whatever comes in your mind. And these things can't be done over hours. It's done over weeks. It's done over, okay, sometimes even months that, okay, I'm thinking about this paragraph and then this part and I'm overwording it, which is okay at that time. Again, you're going to shorten it later on. But at least go slowly and then write it. Don't expect yourself to do everything in a day or a week. It's like I said, it's very frustrating then. So like go one by one. One paragraph may come in before the other one. So and things will make sense. But have a timeline. Some strengths that I shouldn't talk about in their personal statement. I think it's important that again, this should be the voice of the student. If it looks good on paper, great. But they're gonna usually talk about personal statement a little bit. They're gonna ask you, oh, what was this experience about? What was the life-changing experience you're talking about that made you want to do this field or come to the US or become a doctor, and or why you want to do or want to pursue what you're pursuing now. So whatever you put in, make sure that you can talk about a little bit later on. And usually people can see through things when they're not real. So everyone's different. Do it your way. Do not copy others. Absolutely not. Opening statement. I think some of us kind of start with the quote sometimes, which is okay. I'm not an absolute huge fan, but it's still fine. The reason I say this is because you start with a very engaging quote that looks pretty nice, and okay, looks like, okay, this person is pretty learned. They're using pretty good language, but as you go down the person statement, you feel like they're just losing what they talked about in the beginning. If they talked about honesty, integrity, or whatever quote in the beginning, whole person statement, nothing kind of, shows about that. So I feel like that's the easiest thing to do. If you write about something, especially a quote, do you want all of your person statement to sound like that? No, but you don't want a person statement to absolutely not, discuss that at all. So that's like a double-edged sword. So I have to do it very properly. So opening statement can be a little bit catchy. Avoid some real common phrases, which I'll come to later on. So again, I think just put in your story, what you feel, and then things can work out after that. Action verbs, have a slide talking about that a little bit later on. But those are actually, some things that will shorten your sentence. Like I'll put those forward in the next slide. You guys will see that I did this or I did that, or I conducted, I experimented, I coordinated. Those things kind of shorten the words by maybe a couple of words or 3 words every sentence. And if you use those words maybe like 5 or 6 times in the person statement, that's 20 words. Use them 10 times, that's about 35 words. So use those. And always tell us what you bring to the table. Why are you a good candidate or suitable candidate for them? I mean, why you, right? They can be anyone on the street. Why you? Similarly, they also should think why this student is better for us. And you should also think why they are better for you. You have to show them that you guys are a good mix with each other. Some action verbs, the ones that like if you did a project, like I executed, I produced, coordinated, orchestrated, and then chaired a panel, recruited a team, hired people, evaluated, investigated. Like not very hard. You can just literally Google this. It's not very hard. But when you put words on this piece of paper, try and use these as much as possible. It shows that you are actively involved. That helps. Shortens down the words and also puts the right meaning forward without using too many words. Some common mistakes, I think, that people do a lot. Incorporating a CV into personal statement. I mean, your achievements, the things you've done on paper, their objective things are good on the CV. That's what it's for. Personal statement is your story. If those things shaped your career in a certain way, that is different. That is what I would like to know. Or your career was shaped in a way that led you to do those things, rather than naming each thing. That's what I'm trying to say. That, those are the objective findings. This is subjective. How these things have shaped your career or how you intend to make a difference in someone's life because of that. Overwording, repeat information, super common. This is not something you need to worry about in the very beginning. The very beginning, your job is to put your heart out, put a draft out, have some basic structure. Like I said, even if you feel like you're putting like 1500 words, that's okay. It definitely can be cut short, but at least get the point forward. You can't start with 800 words and then, keep adding. That doesn't work. Usually you're putting it more and then we can cut it short for you. Or first of all, you need to do it yourself and then we can help you. Uh, why you want to be in that program? I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer. If this is missing out, then you're gonna miss out. I'm gonna put it as easy as that. It's all about why you and them are a good mix for each other. Why? That's super important. I mean, you put it in either of those paragraphs which I talked about, but it's going to be important for you to do that. And if something sticks out, like why you're different, talk about it. And those are usually coming from experiences you've had in your life. I can give some examples. Some people who've faced a lot in their career struggles. I think they've done odd jobs, taking care of family. That shows a lot of resilience. Versus someone who's like, knew clearly what they want to do. So medical school, residency application, and research in between. So that also helps. So each career is different, but if something you feel makes you different, put it out, and then of course we can help you. Avoid certain things. US is a very open-minded country, more probably than a lot of countries we come from, but certain people can be picky about certain things. The program director or the team that you're applying for, they may be very nice, open, they may still be, but certain things kind of are not very well discussed a lot of people because they have strong opinions to that. Politics, I would say, for example, I mean, let's not get into it, right? Let's not talk about Trump policies and all. I mean, not needed. Let them handle their thing, you handle your thing. You're not at that level of making strategic decisions for the economy. And then probably, stuff like terrorism, some vaccines, all these things, stories which are like circulating for years and sometimes new, kind of avoid those things. Some cliches I feel like we should avoid, like, for neurology, I would say that, like, oh, my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother, they had a stroke. I mean, pretty common. So I don't think it's an absolute no, but I feel like as soon as I read those things, I'm like, okay, another one of that. So just like first feel I get. And I'm sure if I get it, a lot of other people do. And my professors only told me that. Since I was child, I don't know. Depends what the sentence is going to unfold into. So it's not an absolute no. Small things. Don't force a fellowship. If it comes out naturally, it's very good. It should in the flow. Why you want to do it? Where do you see yourself? Don't have to talk about it. Don't think like I must. Absolutely no. Personal statements for different specialties. No. If you're applying to more than one, you may have different reasons why this, why that. Your previous training may help you decide one, or just the person you are, or someone you may know in the program. Whatever reason you take, at least make sure that different specialties have different personal statements, because different reasons. One makes you become a surgeon, one makes you do family medicine. Different reasons to do that. And then some red flags, I would say, if you have some red flags like super strong ones, sometimes you should put it, sometimes you don't. It's kind of double-edged sword again. You don't absolutely have to mention all of those, but if you do, I want you to mention the positive things out of it rather than the negative things. Absolute no for plagiarism. We are in the 21st century. I think internet and everything is kind of boomed so much. If you can use outside sources to write what you want, they can also use outside sources to check whether it's yours or no. I would completely avoid that. This is, if they're checking, most places may not. They're gonna pretty much put you, they're gonna filter you out. Don't do that. And common ones, overwording, like I said, you can start with that, get better. Typos, do not do that. Once you're sending a person to someone, it's understood that you can check and make sure that you have not made any grammar errors. This is like one quote that I always go by. It's an interview or it's a personal statement. When you go into a room of people, you don't know anyone who they are, and there are 10 people or 20 people in the room. So once you start talking to others and others start talking to you, immediately you realize which person is your vibe and which is not. Which is the person you want to be talking to, sitting with, chatting with, spending your time if it's a room of strangers. So when you, and same applies to you, when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. So think before you speak. And similarly, when whatever you're writing on paper, try and emulate that, in your real life too, especially for interviews. So that's this. And then I don't know how if we have time. I had like a small excerpt, but I think should we, Pawan sir, should we take questions or should
Yeah,
I
yeah.
go?
Well, we should, instead of questions, I think we should take actual excerpts from their PS. So now would be the time, like we did in the ERAS CV. Give us a excerpt, and I think someone has already given it. So this is the entire PS. So, by the way, we are not going to review the entire PS, just so that you know. It takes time, and to be able to do justice, we need to sit down one on one with you. So, I don't know, Shweta, what question you have. You have to ask the question and not just put the entire 5 sentences here. So, what kind of a feedback are you guys looking for? You have to tell us that. So I understand this is just one paragraph. Uh, so maybe you come in as a speaker and tell us what you are, looking at. So all of you are looking at the first paragraph. So I think you should. Okay, so let's unmute. So Seja, let's unmute Douglas, or no, it's not Douglas. Daksha Brown, I think. So Daksha, do you want to talk? So
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good day.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to know if this is a good hook to start my personal statement.
Okay. Siddhant, can you read Daksha's?
Yeah, absolutely. Is this the paragraph you want me to read the before
Yes.
I knew how to interpret?
Yes.
Before I knew
Yes.
how to interpret my.
Okay. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Before I knew how to interpret my EKGs, I learned to read musical notes. In university, I developed a deep passion for rap music, initially as a medium for self-expression and a way to connect with people from all walks of life. What began as rhythm and poetry evolved into an appreciation for voice, language, and storytelling. In rap, timing is critical, words carry weight, and the message must resonate deeply. Years later in a family medicine clinic, I realized those same skills of listening actively, responding thoroughly, thoughtfully, and adapting in the moment were equally essential. This time not to entertain but to heal. For me, medicine and music have never been separate journeys. They are both ways of connecting with people, especially those who often feel unheard. Okay. So, I mean, the fact, the analogy between music and medicine, okay, I get it. It's fine. I don't think this is completely wrong. I feel like few things are not kind of fitting correctly. I mean, not sure. EKG part, okay, half a line. And then I think it's just way too long in telling us about the analogy, I mean, you're trying to put a message forward, but you don't want to, like, again, overword it. I mean, all this part can you put in like four lines, I would say. You don't have to like write so
Okay.
many lines about it. Again,
Okay.
I'm not against this. I think it's fine what you've done, but we're going on and on and on about the analogy and not coming to why you're doing this, like this part at the end, that they're both ways of connecting people, especially. So why they both are important to you, why that part is just like two lines, less than that. And everything else is
Okay.
obvious. This is way too long.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on. So thank you. Let's go to Shweta. So Shweta Mora. So Sejal, if you can add her as a speaker and she can explain what she wants. Yes, Shweta.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yep.
I have kept this as my first paragraph. Can you please correct it or explain me? Does it sound
We
good?
cannot correct it because correction means a lot of things, both grammatically, both in terms of the flow, in terms of the content. We can only give you high level feedback, and like I said, there are detailed, specific one-on-one discussion if you join our plan. But go ahead, Siddhant.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just read it briefly. I have always known somewhere in my heart that I'm meant to work in the department that definitely involves children. As a 10-year-old girl who would finish her homework early so that she could go to little children waiting for her to play and watch them giggle. That innocent laughter and pure heart of those children was carried in my heart for years, and the impression they left in my heart was irreplaceable till now. That 10-year-old girl has grown and choose the pathway that no one choose in family as first generation doctor and applying for the pediatric residency. Writing a personal statement for was a truly unbelievable, making a complete circle in her professional life, stepping towards her dream path, not only to share the laugh but also to cure them and let their smile on those innocent faces. Okay, so Shweta here, again, it's going to be long to correct those things, but I feel grammatically there are a lot of errors here,
Okay, sir.
starting from the first sentence itself. So like this is something like when you're like asking for high level feedback, most of the times it's more about type like your overwording or is the message coming across. The correcting the language is something that you should be able to do yourself. That's not very hard. There are a lot of tools. This is like Grammarly is the most common one because it's not like plagiarism that like ChatGPT is making something for you. It's just correcting the language, making sure that it looks okay. Now here there's a lot of overwording, which was okay, but I think the language is a big error here. What you're trying to
Okay.
say is that you always liked children and you knew it ever since the first day because you were around children at that time and yourself when you were young, and now you're happy and you're kind of family is also proud that the first generation doctor is trying to apply in pediatrics, which I think the whole message makes sense, but I feel this is not the right way of putting it. It's very wordy and it's not putting the right message forward, and the language is also not correct.
Okay, sir. I'll improve it. Thank you for that.
All right, let's take one more. I think Nishmita Shetty. I think so. Sejal, if you can unmute her.
Hi. Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. So, this is not my introduction paragraph, but it's just like one of the paragraphs where I'm addressing a red flag on my profile. And I wanted to know if it's sounding like very childish or is it okay, something that can be put across in the
Okay.
personal statement.
Okay, let's see. My journey to this point has not been without challenges. I took step one while still in medical school abroad, away from home and far away from a support system. When I failed on the first attempt, it shook me. For a brief time, I wondered whether I was truly cut out for this path, but with the support of my mother, who believed in me when I could not, I regrouped. I took an honest look at what went wrong and changed how I studied, organized my time, managed stress. I passed on my second attempt and later scored 249 on step 2 CK. More than the numbers, that experience taught me how to stay focused during hard times and how to rebuild when things do not go as planned. That lesson continues to shape the way I handle uncertainty in life and medicine. Okay, I do not think it's absolutely wrong. I think you've addressed it. I think attempt on an exam is a big enough red flag that one can talk about it. And I like the fact that you've kind of focused more towards how what mistakes you had and how you corrected them, and a good result after that. I would like kind of like make it more concise, which I'm sure that once you have any help around you can do it, but I think the
Yeah.
overall concept of doing it, that I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. But it's
Yeah.
not like it does not sound childish, right? Because I've got some feedback that it sounds very childish and not someone who's applying for
I mean,
residency training.
when you make it concise, you kind of stick to the important points. Like like it was the first time doing this for US exam, away from family, a stressful situation that time, but once you realize
Yeah.
this was stress, so I think that you have to make it more concise. Right now it is looks like that someone just writing their heart out, which is okay, but when you put
Okay.
in an official formal piece of paper, you can probably put all this thing in like 6 or 8 lines.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm reading through some of this. Okay, let's go to Astha Gohil. So Sejal, if you can, okay, Astha.
Hello, Dr. Siddhant. Hello, sir. So I had a query that is it a good idea to mention in our PS that I went unmatched the last year? I don't have any obvious red flags in my CV or like scores or anything, but I didn't match last year. So is it a good idea that I was not in a good state of mind, and I was like, it was a tough thing for me, or it will negatively affect my application.
Okay, let me read what you've written. As I opened the most pivotal email of my life to date, a wave of panic and anxiety momentarily overwhelmed me, only to be replaced by sorrow. Initially, the news was devastating. It took me some time to come to terms with the disappointment. Despite the constraints of limited resources and a compressed timeline, I'm determined to learn the valuable lessons from this experience and grow stronger. But my long term goal is clear. I want to train the US with a diverse clinical exposure, cutting edge research opportunities, and strong emphasis on patient centered care. I know that training in the US would allow me to develop not only as a clinician but also as a leader in healthcare. So, I think getting unmatched, unless you've like really changed your way about, really got to know what made you do that, and you've like addressed those very well on the personal statement, I wouldn't really necessarily mention it. I would always do it only then. And then here, I don't even see that. I mean, all I see is that it was disappointment, which I completely get. Beyond that, what have you done to kind of, correct yourself and move forward in a better way? All you're telling me that you always wanted to come to the US. I mean, that kind of remained, that should have been your goal even back then, before when you applied the first time. You wanted to come here for
Okay.
research and all of
Yeah.
that. I don't think you've addressed it well enough to tell us what have you changed in yourself?
Right. I think
So
that
if
is very important for those of you who don't match. And we have a lot of students, who we help with it. Unless you can tell us if you are mentioning this, that, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't match or whatever happened, and, all of that. But how did you grow? What have you done since, right? So just saying the failure helped me grow stronger, I don't think this is a good statement without telling us why. But in general, not matching is not a red flag.
okay, okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so I think this is another important question: how to address applying late after so many years for residency. So no, so life happens and they understand it. So as long as you can talk about what you've been doing clinically, how you've been adding to your skill set, I think that is fine. But late, I mean, there is no hiding the fact, but you have to show them how you have grown as a physician, how and what value do you add now, right? So it's not so much about a justification of, oh, my visa got delayed, or those kind of things, therefore I couldn't apply. It's just about how you are ready now.
I do not think the programs know that it's your first, second, or third cycle of applying.
Yes, they don't know, but obviously all of you should know that they have your transcript. They know when exactly you took your exam. So they can easily guess that, probably it is your second cycle or third cycle. They can easily guess if they wanted to, but I don't think it is a stigma. So it's not a stigma. Maybe we take one more, so one more I think we can take as we wrap up this section. So anyone else who wants to, or maybe I think Siddhant, you had an excerpt that you wanted to, show and see how we change it and all of that. So maybe share that, and maybe we can do that, because I don't think we went over it, right? The last couple of slides.
Yeah, I have them. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't mean to say that something is completely wrong or completely right. My way of only doing is that I feel something kind of fits more in comparison to the other. So I just took this from someone's personal that I had corrected. So a very brief one. So they just talk a little bit about this. Like, my journey is a little unconventional. Entered to the field of dentistry with eager and determination. I was 18 after 2 years of intense study and practice in both dentistry and basic medical sciences. Realized that my true passion was in the complicated universe of medicine itself. I transitioned from dental to medical school. This transition was a change in my field of study. During the phase, I truly understood the value and importance of staying true on my passion. So again, I don't think something is wrong or right, but I feel like just the fact that these last two sentences here. Um, Please, can you see my pointer?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not. I mean, this is like obvious things. You're already talking about you changed from dentistry to basic medical science. You're telling us I transitioned from dental to medical school. Was a transition of field of study. I mean, this doesn't look like something you should put in official a sentence. This is like someone in the school writing an essay or something. So it should have some basis behind it, what you're trying to say and how. So I kind of did this. So I know it's longer. To be like I kept certain things. I think I kept the first 3 lines until itself. And then I said, why? Again, ask yourself why you did. We all make decisions in life based on some reasoning, personal reason, professional reason, a calling, a passionate reason. You can't put everything forward, but at least give us an idea of what you're doing, why you're doing. That is what tells us the person you are. So I'm like, so fueled by my fascination for desire to contribute to the advancement of medical fields complexities and my desire to contribute to the advancement of medical field to transition from dentistry to medical school. So, and then this transition, like they wrote, changing my field of study. This transition was not only a change in my field of study, but also testament to my compassion, resilience, and devotion to the personal growth and hard work. During that phase, I truly understood the value and importance of staying true to my passion. I embraced these challenges and improved my medical knowledge and problem solving skills while I acquired empathy and patient care skills of internal medicine. So, kind of just trying to give us an idea. They changed. What made them change? Like an inner self that they had, they want to change. And then what have they learned since then? This person is saying that I've learned the problem solving skills and improved their medical knowledge by getting into internal medicine from that. And also, this is the reason they wanted to shift. So, like a small excerpt, I just wanted to say, I think this is not something that I have done. This is just something I picked up. I can still work on it and make it more concise, but I wanted to put my thought forward. This is how the way of thinking is.
Well, thank you, Dr. Arora. This was great, and we will move on. I know you guys have a lot of questions, but like I said, this session is not so much about the specifics of your PS because it takes time, and like I said, we do have a rigorous process, but to give you an idea of how the framework works. So I'll move on. I'll answer some other questions, and I know our journalist Mitch has also joined. So we'll move on to the next section also. So thank you, Siddhant. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck, everybody. All right, and I'll leave you guys with Mr. Pavan and now the journalist. Right, guys. Good luck.
Thank you. Now, again, before we move on to Mitch, I do want to share a couple of, because again, I've been asked by many of you in terms of our results. So if you go to our website right here, you should be able to see our results, and Sejal, maybe you can post a link. So, we've worked extensively with old, graduation, recent biology, less interviews, low scores, gaps. So you can click on each of these. It will take you to probably their profile, their blogs, or YouTube stories. So you can, the YouTube interviews, videos, etc. So it's not so much about can you match, it is more so about what kind of strategy do you have, how have you identified the program, the specialty, so on and so forth. So take a look at that. And like I was saying earlier, we do have, we still have spots in our, the platinum and especially the turbo plan. If you guys are interested and you would like, including everything, here, if you go to the residency match, you can see what we can do in terms of your program selection, signaling, ERAS, PSCV. So platinum, gold, bronze or turbo, these kind of plans are available where we go step by step, including in your ERAS, PS, and CV. So that's one thing. Again, because I think many of you joined late, so I'm just going over it. Here's a list of rotations. Again, if you are interested, especially tele rotations, there is still spot. We have 1 month left, as you all know. So those of you who are either looking for on-site or tele, this would be the link to go to. And by the way, we did start a new plan, which is right here, the ERAS CV Plus. It is only focused on your ERAS CV personal statement, very affordable. But in this, the review process still remains the same. So, first review by journalist, then the review of ERAS CV and PS by the physician in a one-on-one Zoom session with you, finally review by the journalist team as well. But of course, it does not get into interview preparation and many of the other services that you may need. So take a look at that. And then, of course, I can answer questions later on as well. With that, the next session is a very interesting session. A lot of you, obviously, the world has moved to AI from Google search and all that. And AI is very fascinating in its own way. You give it a couple of prompts and, it can create a personal statement. But that is where the challenge starts. Is the personal statement actually personal to you? Is it it is telling your story? Or is it just trained on thousands and thousands of generic experiences and therefore, not your personal story? So that's one question we want to answer. The other is, of course, how programs can detect, or any experienced person can detect, whether the personal statement specifically has been written by a human, or it's primarily 90% is AI, 10% is human. So those kind of things we want to discuss. And of course, the burning question that all of you keep asking us, in this day and age, do we actually need a human, a journalist, or someone with a command of English, or someone who's actually seen personally maybe thousands of personal statements? Do you actually need that kind of a service to improve or humanize your personal statement, if you will, or de-AI your personal statement? So with that, let me introduce our very experienced journalist team lead, Mitch Bonds. He leads a team. He's, seen maybe over 2,000 personal statements in the last 3 years. So, well, over to you, Mitch.
Thank you, Bond. And hello, everyone. My name is Mitchell Bonds. I've been in the journalism industry for more than 12 years. In that time, I have read a lot of different kind of text by a lot of different people. And I see on a regular basis more and more stuff that I can tell is generated by AI. Like Juan, I think it's fascinating, but I don't think it should be used for as many things as people are using it for a number of reasons. One of which being your personal statements. Here, let me go ahead and share this here. I'm the screen share here for you. Everybody see this here?
Yes.
All right, let me go ahead.
Slide share, I think that'll be great.
All right, that's what I was going for. I pressed that. There we go. All right, so we need human editors for these personal statements. AI is a fascinating thing. Large language models in particular have things they're very good at. They are very good at, when they've been tailored to a specific purpose, they're very good at creating a lot of generic forms that have a specific purpose. But when they're being used to tell a story instead of having a human tell the story, things get a little wonky. AI has a tendency to hallucinate, which that's the industry term for it, where it just makes things up. Sometimes it'll make up people or events, or there's one relatively famous case that happened here about a year or so ago. A couple of lawyers in the United States got in a good amount of trouble because they used ChatGPT to create a brief for a judge. And this brief contained more than 5 different references to case law that did not exist. People who were not actually ever involved in any of these cases. These were not real cases. So the judge actually threw their case out because they had used AI and just it made stuff up, and they had no way, they did not fact check what the AI did. So they tried to save time and it ended up costing them more time. This can be seen as very unprofessional. There are certain times and places where you do not want to use shortcuts. In your personal statement is one of them. We don't want a carbon copy. We don't want copy pasted generic material that sounds the same from everybody. We want it to be about you and to have your voice come through. Especially when you're providing your own details of your careers, your experiences, what makes you the skilled people you are. A large language model cannot do justice to that. So while you can use it to get started, you will have to put a lot of yourself into it as well. And as editors, we can tell most of the time when AI is being used because I'll show you a slide here. I actually, over the course of the last few years, I've collected a number of the repeatedly used phrases that large language models have generated that show up in a whole bunch of different personal statements. I wrote a poem out of them just by assembling all of these repeated statements. But large language models are also not, they don't create anything new. They're sort of automated plagiarism machines, if you will. They just take stuff that was written by other people and shuffle it. They remix it. They don't really make anything new. And you are something new and important. And we want you to be the focus. The focus of medicine is treating humans. And we want that focus on humans to come through in your writing. And as journalists and writers and editors ourselves, who have spent all this time seeing how not just the words people write, but the emotions behind them, the dreams and drives behind them, that's something an AI is not going to pick up on. That's not something it's going to be able to remix for you. So you're going to want people. It seems to me that you would want people helping you write a personal statement about how you want to help other people. You don't need to get a machine involved in that. It's going to be better with more human contact. Let me show you some examples of what we've been some common changes that we've made over the last couple of years. We like to focus on the first draft. What we tend to do is we'll look at both the small details like grammar and syntax, spelling, punctuation, all that stuff. That's one thing we do. We also go for the overall structure, which you'll learn more about once you get into actually writing the personal statement. We've got a 5-paragraph structure we try and do, and we have specific content we're looking for in those paragraphs. But the biggest part of it is making sure that we're telling a coherent story. And again, AI is not great at this. So here's a couple of examples, as I was saying. Some of these examples they had signs of AI use in these. They get a little wordy, like you can see in this one. And we've changed it to reduce the word count a little bit and have it be snappier, have it be punchier. You would have to go through, I don't know, several iterations of a document, fine-tuning it with an AI to get anything this snappy. And a human editor is going to make that decision immediately. This was just second nature to me. I didn't even have to think about it.
And
it also,
Mitch, just sorry to interrupt for all of you, right? So if you look at the old statement, and this is where a physician or a panelist may not even catch this, because frankly, when I read this first, I did not have any idea of this misplaced modifier. I thought this looked great, but so this is where someone who makes a living as a journalist, someone who actually does it day in and day out, they can pick up these small things. I mean, I was very, very impressed when I figured that I didn't know this. So thank you, Mitch.
That's the thing about AI is that it doesn't have a set of rules that were compiled by people who do this professionally. It takes a look at all the writing that everybody, no matter how poorly trained, writes, and then just gives you an aggregate of that. Whereas somebody who knows what they're doing and how to use the English language properly, they know that when you say, as a young girl in Afghanistan, comma, the next thing you need to say needs to be who it needs to be about the girl in Afghanistan, not the use of Tylenol, because Tylenol was not a girl in Afghanistan. That's a misplaced modifier. That happens all the time. AI does that from time to time, and you need to be able to spot that. It doesn't see anything wrong with this sentence because it's seen other people use it lots of different times, yet use it wrong. So that's the kind of thing we catch and catch immediately. Some of the things that we do are to make a change to it that makes it more natural, more in a native speaker's voice. In this case, there's a lot of extra words, and AI has a bad habit of inserting the word "that" multiple times into sentences. I'm not super fond of that tendency, but things like realized that it's a verb and then a that, and that happens a lot. Now, there's no reason not to use the word "that" in a lot of cases, but it's just extra filler words in many cases. And part of what we do is AI uses a lot of filler words. We try and trim those out to make it snappy or make it like you were conversational and know what you're doing here. And of course, these the personal statements have a word count limit of about 750 words. So when AI returns you a 900 word document, 1,000 word document, editors are going to be way better at trimming the fat, at getting the core of what you're trying to say and bring it down to that word count. Especially those of us who've worked in journalism, we know sometimes you only have so much space on a broadsheet page. You can't afford to waste space. Here's another misplaced modifier in here. Poor punctuation. AI doesn't always get punctuation right in the correct spots, and sometimes generates what are run-on sentences that tend to keep going without really accomplishing their goal in a shorter word count. And as you can see on my newer version here, it's more clarification, clearer wording, because AI uses lots of words. Human editors use the right words, and that's going to be important for both the personal statements, which have that hard word count, and your CVs, which, because you only have a certain, I believe, number of word counts in the ERAS CV as well per experience entry. And I'll get to that in just a moment too. This is another one that is very wordy, and it uses what is called the passive voice. Was solidified. Yeah, okay. You can say that that's not an incorrect use of language, but it's boring. It's much more interesting when you're speaking actively about your accomplishments, about stuff you did, especially when you're telling us specific incidents and specific cases that you've been part of. We want to be there in the moment. We don't want to be passive about it. These things weren't happening to you. You were happening to them. And then spelling and capitalization. AI is usually pretty good about that for the most part, but again, they train AI on every kind of document, just tons and tons of different documents. The quality is not always assured with AI, and quality is literally what journalist editors do, is quality. This, I think you'll see the newer sentence here has a more natural flow, and when you build up a whole document out of things that flow well together, that connect well together, that you're going to end up with a much more cohesive document at the end of things. This is what I believe I added more words to this one. Yeah, I actually made this one wordier, though it's because it was kind of confusing. And I don't know, Pawan, perhaps you can help me out with this here. I haven't spoken to the the medical editor's side of this, but one of the things that we talked about previously was, do we use common medical field abbreviations for like the ICU, intensive care? Do we use, I didn't know what an ICD was when I looked this up. I had to go look it up and find out it was the implanted defibrillators, that is something I always appreciate every year, is I get to learn stuff about the medical field, because I know journalism, I don't know medicine. And so every time something like this comes up, I get to learn stuff about your field, and it's fascinating. But Pawan, what did we decide on abbreviations like that?
So again, like every year, I mean, some of the common abbreviations are okay, like ICU and all that. But some of the more, I think, subspecialty abbreviations we want to avoid. So, we'll discuss on that.
Okay. So like, for example, this is something I changed because I wasn't sure. I did say intensive care here instead of ICU, but that one would have been okay. That was maybe an unnecessary change on my part. And sometimes we'll change things that the medical team will then correct us, because again, we don't know medical stuff. We know the words. So in this case, ICU, everybody knows what an ICU is. You can use that abbreviation. But again, I didn't know what an ICD was. And so maybe not everybody reading your personal statements will know what all the more esoteric abbreviations are for. But I think it reads a little more like a story when you don't have as many abbreviations in there. And that's something, if you were trying to have a large language model generate this for you, you would have to go through and tell it, okay, this is sort of what I'm trying to say, but now can you do it again, this time with spelling out some of the abbreviations. And if this is again about hallucinations, I've done that with an AI before, and it came up with completely wrong spelling out. It got the letters. It said something completely different. It said something about cars, and that was what, 2 years ago. Anyway, sometimes we'll make it a little bit longer, and that's why we like to trim the words out of some of the other statements too. So we want to make sure that we were still within the word count and getting the words in where they matter most. And that's, AI can't really differentiate where the most important use of specific words is going to be. Editors are going to do that better. This is a list of the generic phrases I have seen in every PS that has the fingerprints of ChatGPT, of Anthropic's Claude, of Grok, all of these things. These same phrases keep ending up in multiple personal statements, and that's a problem, because one, AI detection software, as Pawan mentioned, can sometimes pull it up and go, yeah, you didn't write this yourself, though there are false positives too. It makes them generic and unmemorable. And the one thing we want your personal statement to do is to make you memorable. We don't want, if there are 20 people, or more applying for one of these residencies, and all of their personal statements look exactly the same because they were all generated by the same AI, no one person is going to stand out. If you write it yourself with our help, yours is going to be unique. So, I mean, take these with a grain of salt. There's no reason not to use some of these, but the fact that they end up in so many different personal statements is kind of an indicator that they are not only overused, but that they're used so frequently that AI thinks that's the correct way and the only way to write a personal statement, whereas we want you to stand out. Other focuses we have, I mentioned earlier the 5-paragraph structure that we do. We have specific anecdotes we want from you. We want examples of your cases that you've worked on, things that were meaningful personally to you. And an AI is not going to know that stuff unless you specifically tell it about that. And it's not going to grasp the emotional impact of it, as I mentioned earlier, whereas the human editors are going to get it. AI is, in my experience, not super good with paragraph transitions when you're trying to address multiple topics in one document, though that is improving. Again, the more work they put into training an AI for a specific purpose, the better it gets. But it's still not going to manage the same level as a human who's had years of training doing this exact thing. and it's not going to have the more natural voice. Sometimes, as Paul mentioned, he didn't notice anything wrong with that misplaced modifier in my first example. There are some things that as journalists we've been doing for so long that it's second nature to us. I wouldn't be able to tell you every single reason for every single change that I make. Some of them are just, well, that obviously needs changed. And I would have to sit and think about it for a minute to say exactly why. There are some things that we know when we see it needs to be different. And since AI is trained on both good and bad examples, it can't tell the difference. That is all the data set to an AI. So this is personalizing, again, your important work and making it shine the best it can. Same thing about CVs here. All of the same things we would normally fix in a personal statement. We do a lot of the same basic fixes for the CVs when a journalist reviews it. We're slightly more hands off with those because the medical team knows best how to phrase a lot of that. But we have a number of what we really try to enforce in the CVs is consistency. Not just accuracy, but consistency. We have a number of ways these are typically used, but we want them, as you can see here, you can use an I statement. I did this, I did that, I learned these three things. Or you can say that your responsibilities at this included and then list all of the things you were trained to do or the most impactful things. You'll see when you look at the actual ERAS CV stuff, but these you can even just write a paragraph about it. But the thing is, we want to do the same type of thing every time in every entry. So you pick a style like this, and we run through the whole CV that way. And sometimes that means the journalist editors will just make all of those consistent. Though again, really the personal statements are where most of our work is done. Anyway, thank you for paying attention here. This is we just want you to write these with your own voice. Again, I'm not going to tell you not to use a large language model to help you get the basis of these. I've specifically been told not to tell you not to do that. I don't care for them much because I think people are better at it, and you're going to find that's true. People are better at helping people create stories about people. You can tell the difference when you read a story or document that was generated by a large language model as opposed to a person. Read it out loud. You can tell that it's less human when it's written by a machine. And so I highly encourage you to work with the editing team rather than trying to do everything with a large language model. And we're here to help the whole time. So lots of times we'll leave, if you have something in your personal statement that you think merits special attention, you can leave us a note in the margins or at the bottom of the document asking which kind of thing is better here. And our journalists we're ready to respond to that. We're ready to help you. We're ready to help you succeed with these. So that's why we're here. So that's all I have, Pawan.
Well, thank you, Mitch. As always, appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And I'll take the rest of the questions. So enjoy your weekend.
Will do. Thank you, sir. You have an outstanding weekend.
Thank you. All right. So let's go over some of the questions. One question is USMLE as an abbreviation. Obviously, this is correct. I mean, we are all in the USMLE. Just make it uppercase, not the lowercase USMLE. You don't have to mention United States Medical Licensing Exam. We all know it. They all know it. Okay. The other thing, before I forget and take questions, is a lot of you have asked us about research. So yes, research is very important. And yes, we can still help you in research. So there are still research topics, especially if you go to the IRR. We have several research courses, and all of them are able to submit by September 15th. So whether you go to the IRR link here, which Sejal can post, so now you can do an abstract or a manuscript or both. or you go to the concept to publication. This is by Dr. Weissman. He is starting manuscript he started, I think, in August, another one in September. And the CIBNP research program here on our website, they are also offering very, very, attractive prices and fee for our students. So research was one thing that I had questions on. So yes, research is still possible in this last month. Publication is not going to be possible. However, submission and all of that is possible also. The other thing I did want to mention for those of you who are interested, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, obviously YouTube. These are some of the channels we use. We post a lot of material like this. Will go on YouTube probably as and when my team is ready. So if you follow those, and also our LinkedIn, I think on Reddit also, our panel is answering questions. So we can post the thread of the Reddit also where you can ask questions. I mean, people don't go to Facebook anymore, but Reddit, they ask questions. So our panelists will answer questions on Reddit. Can USMLE Sarthi help with visa and the type of visa one should apply, when to apply? So if you are talking about the rotations, right? So B1, B2 visa, which physician and invite letter, yes, we can do that. We can also help you as you are part of if you are part of our match plan. So when you do your rank order list and H1 versus J1, those kind of visa questions, we do have a visa attorney. She is based out of Texas, a US visa attorney who can help you also with more technical questions. Remember, we are not physicians. We are not lawyers. Okay, so we have special lawyers on our team. Okay, so I did, I think, answer all the questions, but like I said, take a look at our plans. I'm here for another 5 to 7 minutes. If you have questions, I am happy to answer those, and we can absolutely help you with 1.5 months to go in your ERAS CV, in your personal statement, from both the physician and the journalist perspective. I think it is important to note, both these bring a lot of value. The journalist, like you saw, works on very specific thing. The physician will work on a very specific thing. And then we have classes that, you can watch or interact and all of that. So those are some of the things, but let me see if we have more questions. Did we have any other questions? I am happy to answer. Okay, so that's a good question. If a program says less than 3 YOG is preferred, is it worth it? Better to apply to that program, filter out right away. Okay, so again, we will help you with our program list. Our team is now starting to work on it. But in general, I mean, this is again a suggestion. Some programs have YOG as a soft filter where they will say, we prefer less than 3 years YOG. If it's a soft filter, you can take your chances. If it's a strict filter, they will really mention that, we take only less than 3 years YOG, right? So that you can see. And our tool that we are building will combine the data from Residency Explorer, Frida, a lot of our experiences. So we are bringing the AI to this program list also, and you will be able to kind of combine that with signaling and other aspects. But in general, it's a soft filter. If the program says we prefer, I think you can go ahead and apply. Okay, any other questions before we wrap up? All right, if there are no other questions, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully this was useful. Take a look at our plans and services and how we can help. There are, like Sejal has posted, research courses have had a very attractive discount for the next 1 month, both in C2P, concept to publication, as well as in IRR. For those of you who are still looking for research opportunities, geographical preferences, whether to mention or be selective. So it depends on your profile. Frankly, there's no single answer. You also have to look at Residency Explorer, also your own profile. If, for example, you are applying 90% of the programs you're applying to are in 3 geographies, I would say go for it. If not, keep it open, does not matter. You can also go into the program and see how seriously they take the geographic selection. So again, it's a big back and forth. Our team works with our students on these kind of program lists and make it available. At this point, I can only see this is how. So Sejal, I think the Telegram channel link is not working for some of them. It looks like it is opening my chat. So if you can check that. How to contact you for rotations shared in the Google Doc? So you mean the Google Sheet? There are many ways. You can actually pick the actual go to the rotation and use our platform to request, or you can chat with us like Sejal has shared the chat. Our team will look at it. It's Sunday night. A lot of my team is back in India. I'm in Arizona. So they look at it Monday morning. If you give them a query on WhatsApp, they will absolutely look at it. Or send us an email, contact@usmlesarthi.com. So there are various ways to get in touch with us. Okay, so with that, let me know if there are other questions. Like I said, if you are interested, get in touch. How to contact for journalist personal statement review. So there is no journalist only personal statement review. So I think because we don't think it does justice. So this is our methodology. The review has to be both with the physician and the journalist, right? So that's where the ERAS CV plus plan comes in. There is no only journalist review. I mean, if you want only journalist review, you can go to, Fiverr or any of those tools. On social media, you can get it reviewed from a journalist, but our journalist team is very experienced. They have been working on only IMG applications for the past 3-4 years, and then there is a physician review also. So we cannot have only the journalist review. That does not do justice to the personal statement. So we do want that rigorous review. So Sejal, maybe you can post the link for the ERAS CV Plus and the Turbo also. And here's the Telegram group that Sejal has shared. Let us know if there are issues. Instagram, YouTube, Telegram, and Reddit. You should be able to join, ask questions. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. I'll keep the chat open just in case you need to grab some links. We will be back very shortly with other webinars, other ways to help you, so let us know. Does Turbo include interview? Also, Turbo includes all the classes that we have for interview preparation. So covering 80 questions, 80 plus, I think, and 35 hours plus of interview preparation. But a lot of people join Turbo because they are not sure whether they'll get the interview. So if you need mock interviews, you can add them on after Turbo. So no, Turbo standalone does not include interview prep, but okay, let me make an offer. For those of you who joined Turbo today, the first 5 students, we'll give them a free mock interview. So Sejal, anyone who joins today, and for those of you who've stayed late, 40 odd students, 1 mock free in Turbo for free. Gold, of course, is a separate plan. 1 mock, 1 hour mock, and that will be free. You join Turbo, put your name or text Sejal, put your name here so that we can look out for you. if you join in the next 24 hours. So it is 2 p.m. East or 2:15 East Coast time on Sunday. So, same time by tomorrow, if you join, by next 24 hours, you'll get it. So, and Susan Paul is interested. So Sejal, grab her name, and if you can give us your email, or Sejal has posted her WhatsApp, so you can text her directly also. Okay. So if there is interest in Turbo, happy to help. Okay. That does come with a review of your PS and CV that we just discussed. So Nadeem is also interested. So Nadeem, text Sejal. She has just put in her WhatsApp number. Lekha Kapoor. So Sejal, we obviously, if you guys registered for the webinar, we will get in touch. And Shimagnu Priya, I apologize if I'm butchering the names, so my apologies. Asta, okay, Priya. So as long as you guys registered, I'm noting down these names, and Sejal will reach out to your email, or you can WhatsApp her. So if you join Turbo in the next 24 hours, you can all have a free mock. If you are still in the early phases, unfortunately, this is the math season. So yes, if you need other services, we can absolutely help. But as you know, with the match application out in about 45, not less than 45 actually, 45 days. Anyone else is interested, let us know, and we'll be happy to help. So Sejal, hopefully you got all the names, and we can get to their emails, or they can WhatsApp you. Anything else, anyone that I can answer? All right, Sejal. So people are putting name or email, so you can pull that. Okay. All right. Thank you, and have a good rest of the weekend if you are in the US, or go to sleep if you are in Asia. I guess late for you guys.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that video provided valuable insights for your journey. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And check out our website for details on how we can guide you to a successful match.